Well, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to talk about and show you and give you a demonstration of how you can use advanced driving techniques if you have a disability, if you have a vehicle that is adapted for various disabilities. So I'm quite lucky today. My friend Harry's come up for some training. Harry's a driving instructor and he specialises in automatic vehicles and adaptive vehicles that have been adapted for people with various disabilities. And I get asked quite regularly, I get an email every couple of months or so from somebody asking, you know, I've got a disability, does that bar me from being included in IAM or ROSPA advanced driving? Can I do an advanced driving course? Is there anything stopping me? And there's a very straightforward answer to that, and it's no, there's nothing stopping you from taking part in advanced driving courses. There's nothing stopping you from doing an advanced driving test. From the perspective of the civilian advanced driving and advanced motoring organisations, certainly in the UK, you should find that they're totally inclusive, that they have very clear equal opportunities policies, that nobody's excluded. But like any good equal opportunities policy, that means that anybody with a protected characteristic, and a disability is a protected characteristic, shouldn't be excluded from their courses. So what that means is that those organisations should make all reasonable allowances and adaptations to allow anybody, irrespective of a disability, to compete, to take part in an advanced driving course, an advanced driving test. Now, if you read Roadcraft or some of the other advanced driving manuals, you'll find that there are some techniques within those books that for some people they might not be able to adopt too. So pull-push steering, for example, is impossible if you've only got the use of one arm. I'm just using that as an example, but there are other techniques that you might not be able to adopt to. But be careful with that, because it's not necessarily the techniques that we're looking for. I'm an examiner for the IM. I'm looking for the outcome. I'm looking for how you drive the car along the road and how the car feels when it drives along the road. And as instructors, we're all given guidance in application of these equal opportunities policies to allow people, whatever the disabilities, if they are able to drive a car, you should be able to complete an advanced driving course and improve your driving standards and improve your skills. And I would encourage anybody to do it. So today I'm going to give you a little demonstration of how some adaptations can be used in what is essentially a normal vehicle, and I'm driving it normally at the moment with the pedals and the steering wheel, but there's been some adaptations made to this vehicle to allow for control using hands only, and actually for using a left foot accelerator as well. So let's go and have a look at the controls of this vehicle, and you'll see what I mean about how those controls operate. But essentially all the controls do is operate the car in a normal way. It's just your input from the driver is slightly different. Okay, so in this car it's fitted with a couple of adaptations. The first one is, and the first one that you'll see when you get in the car, is this hand control. And this hand control operates the accelerator and the brake, and it's a mechanical device. If you look underneath there, we've got a number of little levers and connectors which just basically work the way down, and when I press this forward, you'll see that it presses the brake pedal down, and when I pull it back, it presses the accelerator pedal down. Pretty straightforward, really. There's no fancy electronics here. Effectively, when you're driving the car with the hand control, you are using the normal controls for the car, but it's just translating through into the pedals themselves. And then the other thing it's got is it's got a left foot accelerator pedal. So if I press this pedal down, you'll see that the right accelerator pedal goes up, folds up out of the way. So if you're struggling with use of your right leg, or you've had an amputation, you can use your left foot on the accelerator in the normal way and your left foot on the brake. So let's have a quick look inside at the steering wheel. Obviously, if you are using your right hand on the controls, you're going to need a little bit better control of the steering. So I'm going to fit a steering ball or knob. People thought there was only one knob behind this steering wheel, but there's two of us now. So this knob obviously gives better control over the steering, and it can be moved, you know, to the bottom right, top right, whatever's suitable for you or whatever's suitable for a particular individual's disability. We can move this knob around the steering wheel. But in addition to this, there's also another good piece of kit that you can get for cars with hand controls. And that piece of kit is the lollipop. And this lollipop, it fits in to the fitment for the steering ball. So you can still steer the car with this piece of kit. But on it are a number of buttons as well. So we can operate the indicators, the headlights, the washers, the wipers, just through these buttons on fitted onto the lollipop. So with the engine running now, we've got the car in park, so there's no danger of us going anywhere, but I can give you a little demonstration of what happens when I operate the hand control. So as I pull it towards myself, you can hear the engine revs. And all that's happening is that is directly connected to the accelerator pedal, and the engines are going up. As I push it away, and I've got the assistance from the brake servo now, it's much easier to push away. Also on top of this, I should have mentioned this before, is a little switch. And this little switch does nothing more than operate the indicators. So when it's in the middle, indicators are off. Click it to the right hand indicator comes on. Click it to the left, and the left hand indicator comes on. So going back to the lollipop now, we see I've got a little bit of power assistance on the steering now. So this is how it would help you steer in the car. And if I operate some of these controls here, if I press the left button, that's the left indicator coming on. Press the right button, that's the right indicator coming on. We've got washers, got the rear wiper, got headlight washers here, we've got the lights on and off, so quite a few little controls, and obviously the horn in the middle as well. Quite a useful little piece of kit, that lollipop. Puts a load of controls from the car just under your thumb there. Very, and I would imagine if you were driving regular with this piece of kit on, these switches very quickly fall just to the right place, and you'll very quickly get used to it, get the muscle memory, and just remember exactly where those are. Okay, so I'm going to transfer across to the hand controls now. I'm going to put my hand on the steering ball, my left hand on the steering ball. So I'm just going to steer one-handed from now on. And with my right hand, I'm going to put it on the hand control. And if I just take up the slack, because I'm already pressing the accelerator with my right foot, I'll take up the slack on that, and immediately I'm now in control of the accelerator and the brakes with the hand control. There's no switching over to it. You just take hold of it and you've got control of the hand control. So if I want to accelerate, pull that hand control towards me, you can feel the car kicking down a couple of gears and accelerating. And if I want to brake, just check the mirrors, there's nothing behind. I just push the hand control away, and the brake's applying in just in the normal manner, because all that's happening is that the levers and the mechanism is transferring that forward push onto the brake pedal and slowing the car down. Back on the accelerator now, and the car picks up a little bit of acceleration. If I want to indicate a turn, if I was going to turn right, just click the right indicator on and then cancel it by switching that off into the centre. But what about advanced driving with hand controls? Is it possible to drive to an advanced standard with hand controls? Well, yeah, absolutely. All I'm doing is driving the car in the normal manner. I'm just using my hand to operate the pedals rather than my feet. So if you think about the system of car control, that five-phase system of car control, there's absolutely no reason at all that I can't apply that while I'm driving with hand controls. Let's just drive along this road for a little bit and apply the system of car control. So we've got slow on the road and a crest in the road, and I can't see what's beyond that crest, so I'm off the gas and I'm just letting the hand control find its neutral position in the middle. And it's got quite a nice soft neutral position. It doesn't immediately go from accelerator to brake. And I've used just used acceleration sense there just by lifting off the gas, didn't need the brakes at all. But now through the corners, you can use a bit of acceleration and balance the car on the gas through the corners in exactly the same way as you would do if you were driving a car with the pedals. So a little bit of brakes on the approach to this corner, off the brakes, let the car get the gear and press the accelerator and steer around the corner. Absolutely no problem at all. And the hand control is just as progressive as the pedals, again, because all it's doing is operating the pedals. So you don't get a sudden switch from one to another. What I tend to find I'm doing at the moment is gripping this steering ball probably a little bit too tight. And I think my left arm will probably get a little bit tired after a while, but that's the sort of thing that after a while you'd start to relax a little bit more and let the car, you know, just steer itself in a straight line. So I'm off the gas here, just holding a neutral position on the gas pedal, and then as we get to the corner, pulling the gas and accelerating and balancing the car around the corner. So although some of you, will not have disabilities, might just find this interesting to see how hand controls work, there'll be other people watching this video who will have disabilities. Some of you will have had a disability all your life, and this will have been, I suppose, all you've known as far as driving is concerned. Your first experience of driving may have been with hand controls. Other people may have acquired a disability at some point in their life, which means that they've had to change the way that they drive the car. So for those people, there's a bit of adaptation, there's a bit of time to sort of get used to it, and I suppose that's what I'm going through at the moment, is just a little bit of acclimatisation to how these controls work on the car. But I have to say, I'm finding it pretty natural at the moment. I like the progressive nature of the controls. I like the fact that it's actually quite smooth, and it allows me to drive the car quite smoothly. Coming back to advanced driving techniques, what I would say to you if you've got a disability and you're using adapted controls is don't worry too much about the techniques that are promoted in a lot of the advanced driving literature and videos and things. You need to work with your observers or your instructors to find the techniques that work for you. So for steering, for example, we promote pull-push steering as a good method of getting a nice smooth steering input in the car. But at the moment I'm steering one-handed. I'm using the ball on the steering wheel. I'm using my right hand to control the speed of the vehicle. So I can't use a pull-push technique. I'm going to have to just keep one hand on the steering wheel and steer one-handed using this ball. As an examiner, I'm perfectly happy with that, but what I'm still looking for is a nice smooth steering input. So I'll put a link in the description below to a few of my videos before, but the key one in relation to steering is to remember that what we want to do is imagine the steering wheel is like the fulcrum of a pendulum, and we're looking for a nice smooth input like a pendulum. Now you don't have to use pull-push to achieve that. You can use any technique you want, and as an examiner, as long as the car steers smoothly into a corner, I'm perfectly happy with that. So I'm going to turn right at a junction in a minute in Orton. So let's apply the system of car control using the hand controls in the car. So I'm checking the mirrors for information. There's the sign for the junction. I'm just moving away from this gent on the right, and I'm putting a right indicator on with my thumb. I'm on the position towards the centre line, and I'm on the speed phase on the brakes now. I'm waiting for this car to clear. So the gear's automatic, checking the mirrors, and now turning into the junction with a little bit of acceleration. So you can see that that 5-phase system of car control works perfectly well with hand controls on the car. Again, I'm going to turn right at the next junction, so I'm checking the mirrors for information, putting a signal on, position near the centre line, and controlling my speed on the brakes. I'm going to have to almost come to a stop here, I think. So we've got the view, got a clear view now, and we can accelerate nice and smartly away from the junction, and then cancel the signal. So I'm just at that sort of, none of this is muscle memory at the moment, so I'm just at that point where I'm having to think about every single thing that I'm doing in the car at the moment. But hopefully you can see that all that system can be applied using these controls in the car. Changing speed limit, check the mirrors. And as we're coming onto a national speed limit road, let's put the car into sport. Just liven up its responses a little bit. Near side position on approach to this right-hander. A little bit of brakes, looking through the bend, and then back on the gas again just to balance the car, and then a bit more acceleration. Let's pick the car speed up a little bit. There's no reason you can't drive progressively using hand controls. In fact, there's a few really good racing drivers out there who use hand controls as well. And as somebody who hasn't got a disability, it's actually quite It's quite an interesting experience for me to try this a very different method of driving, but what I'm finding is that I'm adapting to it pretty quickly, really. Now, one thing I would say, if you have a disability and you're thinking of doing a course of instruction, contact the IM or contact ROSPA, get in touch with one of your local groups. Absolutely, you will be encouraged to get out there and improve your standards. But as an examiner, I will make any reasonable adjustments that I can to take into account a disability if you've got one. Now, some of those disabilities are obvious. I'll be able to see that you've got a disability when you turn up, and we'll have a chat about that. Some disabilities, though, are hidden. So we think about people on the autistic spectrum, for example. That might be a hidden disability and something that isn't obvious when we first meet. But if it's going to affect your driving, if it has an effect, if it's something that I need to take account of, please let your examiner know. Please let us know at the start of the test, because I will make all reasonable adjustments to take that into account when I'm marking your test. And the other thing is as well, I'm not going to reduce my standards. So to pass the test, you're still going to have to reach an advanced standard. I will take into account what's happening. I will take into account your disability and any hand controls or whatever that you're using, but the standards are still the same. We're still looking for a good advanced standard drive with all the right principles applied. I'm wondering if we can get an overtaking at some point on this learner in front using hand controls. Got the car in sport. It will react to the throttling just the same way as it would do if I was operating the accelerator with my right foot. So there's a right-hander coming up. Sometimes off a right-hander is a good opportunity for an overtake. Let's see how we get on. I'm going to position near side. Going to look past the car into the distance. Yeah, there's the opportunity. Pull the accelerator. Yes, I checked my mirrors before I moved out. Checking the mirrors and moving back to the near side. Nice smooth overtake. So yeah, back to the standards. I still expect you to drive to an advanced standard. You're not going to get a pass on an advanced driving test unless you can drive to that required standard, but we will make all reasonable adjustments to take into account any disabilities that you've got. But if it's a hidden disability, it's important that you tell us about it at the start of the test so that we can take it into account. So right-hander coming up, let's tuck into the near side. Off the gas now, gently onto the brakes, firming the braking up for this one. Remembering to come off the brakes with enough time to let the car get the gear, and then back on the gas again for the corner. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to have a little chat with you about disability and accessibility to advanced driver training, and the fact that whatever disability you may have, if you hold a driving license and you can drive a car, there is no bar to you coming and doing some more advanced driver training and improving your standards and improving your skills. And hopefully you can see, using the hand controls in this car, that we can still apply all those principles of good advanced driving techniques. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and thanks to Harry. It's Harry Deblin, who's based down in Kent. Harry's an ADI. I'll put his contact details and his website details and things down below. So if you have a disability that requires to use hand controls, I can't think of a better person to go to, especially since he's had some training with me as well, than Harry. Thoroughly recommend him. And he's that was a bad turn at that junction. Yeah, so if you are new to using hand controls, or if you're looking to pass your test for the first time, get in touch with Harry, and he's got a nice new vehicle, good quality hand controls on here, and you'll get some top quality instruction from him. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to go and have a look at my website as well, regilocal.com. Loads more information there about advanced and performance driving. Information about the books, how to get hold of a copy of the books if you want one. And there's some information there about how you can get a day's driver coaching with me if you want to. Come and have a day out on some of these roads in the north of England. And give us a follow on Twitter as well, at RegLocal. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.